Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this episode, we're going to begin by shooting some traffic issues, and then I think this episode we will extend this high-speed rail line that we put in last episode and take it from the underground area that we have it in Jackson and take it all the way up to the city of Birmingham. So there's maybe 3 or 4 areas I want to take a look at in terms of traffic. We have our street traffic layer on that you can see. First one, of course, is still our connection between Downey and Mesa. This has been a problem for quite a while, and we still haven't figured it out. So I think obviously what we've been doing isn't working, so we'll be figuring out something else to maybe help disperse this traffic a bit more. The next area we're going to look at is this highway here that comes into San Jose from Winston-Salem, and I think this could be solved pretty easily by just extending our current highway and having it connect here, or maybe even we just replace this road and have the highway come all the way across and end somewhere over here in Winston-Salem. Then, sort of following that same logic, continuing around the map, we have this bridge that's getting pretty full. We can see there's a lot of people coming into Winston-Salem, so maybe there's a way we can help fix that. And then lastly, our road coming in or out of Modesto. I'm not sure which way that's going. It looks like a lot of it is going from Modesto to Sacramento or somewhere else. So that's an interesting problem that we're going to have to solve. But that looks like all of our main areas of traffic on the map right now. We're gonna give it a quick go to try to fix this, and then after we're done with that, we'll extend this high-speed rail that we put in last video, and somehow we'll figure out how to connect it up somewhere over here. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to connect it to the line going up to Modesto, but we could maybe potentially at least get a connection to the line going up to Birmingham, and we can get some nice high-speed trains running completely across the map from Birmingham all the way over to San Jose and Downey. So first of all, coming back here to our traffic, I don't think this roundabout is really working at all for us, so this is something that's going to need to go and be fixed immediately. So we'll come back and connect up this 4-lane road that we had before, like so. We can put back our highways with our highway ramps, or I guess here we use the 2-lane highways, and then connect this road back up. And I think how we had it before was just connecting to this intersection. I'm not sure if that was helpful or not, but we'll see what happens when we add this back in. So now that we have this back to running how it was before, we can try to think of ways to help take traffic off of this one single road. And if we take a look at this road, it seems like both ends of it has a good amount of traffic, so there's definitely something in here that needs to be fixed. And I think honestly part of it might just be Mesa needs another road connection coming into the city. It's in a very difficult spot to get to, but it's also very limited in its transportation options, as we only really have a bus and an airplane coming in here, and then this main road for all of our private transportation. And we've tried to limit the amount of private transportation taking that road by having this train station have a bus line that connects all the way up to Mesa, but even that's not helping to stop most of the traffic coming in here. And if we take a look at our destinations layer just for Mesa, we can see it has primarily a lot of people coming into the city, and it still seems to be coming almost directly from Downey. There's a good amount of people taking the highway, and it actually looks like our highway is starting to get compromised by the city of Downey, so we're going to have to fix this up in a second. So with a good portion of our traffic coming into the city from Downey, I think we're gonna have to find another way to get into the city. And with all these cliffs, it's gonna be pretty hard to do that. However, I think there's maybe a tiny opportunity over here. If we lower sort of the tip of this down and sort of this whole area, it might be realistic to get a road to come down and then bridge over to somewhere over here. We can bring this hill up a bit more so that our bridge is nice and level. And I think that might be our best and really only shot at potentially limiting the amount of traffic coming in and out of Mesa by road. So we'll start this by pretty much picking a point that I think we see best on this ridge. I think that's going to be right about here. We'll try to keep the general shape of this area as much as possible, but of course there's a lot of elevation that we're going to need to move in order to get this to slope correctly. But we can have that there, and then somewhere over here, probably near the top of this hill, we'll have to raise this up to get to a similar height. And this looks about where we need to be. So then we'll click this. We'll just get a pad here for now. We can sort of deal with how we want to come down from this later. So we've smoothed out this hill to get a pretty steep slope. And if we take a look here and drag this, we're still not able to keep up with it, even with our max road slope. So I think we're going to have to get a little creative with how we do this. I think maybe what we could do is bring it up across the edge of the cliff here. And I think we're just going to cut into the hill for now. And we'll use this as our guide for our slope. And maybe we could go one less, so it's not quite as steep and awful coming up here. But we can then build this right here, and then maybe we can get just enough height to where we can pop up and meet this road. And so we can see here, the slope's not too terrible. Maybe. We'll see what it looks like later, but now we have our road connection all the way down to here. So pretty much we're just going to carve out all of this to match the road height. We'll get rid of this industry and then slope all of this to get it to look somewhat natural. And hopefully it looks good in the end. We'll see. I usually like to refrain from terraforming this much, but the traffic's getting so bad that I don't think just having one road into the city is going to be enough. Alright, so we're able to slope this all out and get it looking pretty smooth and open. This side of the road is still pretty steep, but I think that's okay, as the city will probably build up here and keep this road disconnected for the most part. If we really wanted to, we can maybe flatten out a small area over here and smooth this over so the slopes aren't too terrible. And then if the city did want to build a few roads out here, it now has that option too, but I don't see the city growing out this far. So now that we have that done, we can bring our road connection over, and I believe this is pretty straight. We can come back and fix the angle of the connection here once we get the bridge in, but we'll want to pull this back and connect as soon as possible. And now we get to select the bridge that we want. And so I think the road that we're going to use is this suspension bridge. It's really the only one that looks good over a span this long. All the other ones, the span of the pillars is pretty short, but this one's not too bad. I think later on, if we unlock some more bridge types, we might come through and redo this one, or maybe the one over on this side, just so that we have a little bit of variety in this area. But I don't think this looks too terrible. Let me know in the comments if you think there's a better solution to this, but we can build that. We can come back here and we'll fix our curved connection here so that we get a nice smooth transition instead of just an angled road. And then now we have to figure out where we're going to go from here. And ideally, I'd like to connect right from this road to this road here, so that we have sort of our main roads from each city connected, and it'd almost be sort of a loop in this area. And it seems possible we could do this. We'll just have to do this in a little bit better of a way. Again, we'll keep it all land, and then we'll terraform around the roads once we figure out exactly what we want. So I think a road sort of like this will work best. We tried to keep it not the steepest slope. We kept it one tick above that, just so it's not terribly unrealistic. But now we can come through and terraform the area here to make this road more natural and give Downey some space to expand, hopefully in the future. It hasn't yet expanded to this side of the river, but I'm sure it will soon. Alright, so we finished all of our terraforming here, and we can already see a couple of cars starting to use this road to get into Mesa, and I'm sure soon enough we'll see cars coming out of Mesa and down this way. And I'm pretty sure we could potentially double check that with our destinations layer as well. We can start to see some people starting to use this road. It seems to be maybe people mainly in this area from Downey, but any traffic we can get off of this road will be highly beneficial later on. And coming back to where our roundabout was, it seems traffic's moving much more on this main road, but this road here coming out of Downey is now pretty backed up. It looks like it's only to about the entrance of this tunnel, so it's not too terrible yet. I'm hoping once all this traffic from Mesa clears out, this road can clear out and it'll sort of reach a nice equilibrium there. But that's something we'll have to keep a pretty close eye on as we continue to develop this area. Now, I am concerned still about all of this traffic coming into the city, but I think I want to wait and see the effects of this before we go ahead and mess around with this end of the city. I'm not sure how we would go about that, if maybe adding a highway that sort of wraps around the city would help, or something else along those lines, but we'll just see and reevaluate in maybe a few videos to see if we need to do anything more. So the next area I mentioned was extending this highway pretty much across here and maybe bringing it all the way over to Winston-Salem. And at that point, pretty much we might be able to just complete the loop here of this highway. And that wouldn't be too terrible of a thing to do, because we'd get a connection here that splits to Winston-Salem and Albuquerque, and then we could have another exit over here for another side of Winston-Salem. But I think just to start out with, let's first pause, because this might get messy. And we'll continue along with our parallel highways. We'll come across and start turning maybe about here. And then we'll have this connect somewhere around there. And then in here we can have our interchange to get off into San Jose, or maybe we'll have it back here. I'm not too sure yet, because there is an opportunity that we could turn this road into an intersection as the highway bridge is over, but I'm not sure if I want to do that for our industrial road that we use for our oil line. So I think we'll just actually leave this off right here with this new highway connection here. This should help get people that are taking this road to turn onto this road and go up to Downey and Mesa. Hopefully all these people aren't just going into San Jose, but we will keep an eye on that. Perhaps coming in here and upgrading this road might encourage people to get off a little bit earlier, if that is what they are doing. And it seems like we could probably clean up this road as well with a much smoother and simpler curve like that. And so we'll have to keep an eye on this, but I think we're ready to move on to the next area. One last thing I think we will do here actually is add in an interchange where we did connect here before, just so that the traffic coming out of San Jose can be split to two different entrances. so that they're all not overloading this one intersection. Much like cars are coming in here, we can have some cars coming out through this way and getting on the highway, and then some other cars coming out this way and getting on the highway here, just so that this 2-lane road here doesn't get completely overloaded as we continue to grow. Alright, so we do have this interchange in here now, and hopefully we'll start to see a bunch of people using it pretty soon, and maybe start to alleviate all of this traffic. Although it looks like it might be starting to work, but that could also just be because of the 4-way intersection that we just put in here. So next, of course, we have this area, and this needs to be looked at pretty closely as this road is completely overloaded coming into Winston-Salem from Albuquerque. And we do have a couple of people using both roads, so we're spreading out the traffic pretty evenly. And so this one's a pretty unique situation that we're in because we already have 2 connections that are getting used pretty heavily each way. I think maybe the solution might be fixing the buses in Albuquerque and Winston-Salem, as both have grown significantly again since last time, and then this train between the 2 cities can maybe be quick enough to override the private transportation need between those 2 cities. So coming into Albuquerque, it looks like we've run into the issue again where the city has pretty much outgrown its area, and so we're probably going to have to make some landscaping changes to allow the city to properly grow, so we don't get all these weird connections where you can only get one road up there. Everything down here is fine, and over here looks pretty good so far, but it definitely looks like the city wants to grow up the hill more, so we'll probably have to pick a nice flat area, maybe raise the brush size a little bit, and flatten out a good portion of this mountain, and then we'll smooth this all out, and it's going to be pretty hard on the computer, as you can see here, as it's adjusting the tree heights and everything else that comes along with that. Alright, so we're able to flatten out a new section of this hill for the city to grow into. We're starting to run out of space up here as the hill continues to climb, but I think we'll get there eventually. This should be enough space for the city to grow, and it still has a bunch of space over here, across the river if it ever wants to do that, and then over here as well as it continues to expand that way. But now I think we're ready to expand our bus loop, and so we'll have one up there. I think we'll have another one sort of all the way in this area, somewhere in there, and then another one down here, or maybe we'll bring it all the way down closer to the river to keep it off of our main truck route. And then on this end, I think we could probably do well with just one new stop there. So then we should just need to come around, find our buses, manage each line, and then add in our new stations wherever appropriate. Alright, so now we have our bus loop figured out yet again. I think we could probably double the amount of vehicles in each line. So we have that one done, and then we can come over to this one, manage these vehicles, double those. So that'll help us move people around Albuquerque a lot more. And then over in Winston-Salem, I think in Winston-Salem there's really only 1 or 2 spots we could use to add another bus stop. But I think right here is a good spot for one more, and then that covers this whole side of all this new growth, and it slots in pretty easily to our existing loops, I believe. So if we manage the vehicle right after this station, it'll come up to here, or I suppose it's the other way. Right after the 4th station, it'll come up and then back down, and then we'll just do the same for the 2nd line. After this stop, it'll come up to this station, and that should have everything covered now. And I think we have enough vehicles maybe 2 more on each line might help out. But hopefully that will help out with our private transportation here. It looks like one of the lanes is actually clearing up pretty well. Not too sure what that's all about. And I'm tempted to put a bus lane in here to allow our trucks to easily bypass it, but that still wouldn't solve all the private transportation traffic that we see coming through here. I think we'll leave the expanded bus stations for now and see if the train is good enough, and if not, maybe we get some buses running between these two cities since they are so close. And then in the future, once we extend this highway across the river and connect it back up to finish this loop, that might also help a lot more with our traffic. But I think this area is good enough to leave for now, and we'll reevaluate that later. And then our last area that we wanted to look at was right here, coming out of Modesto. So this one's interesting because pretty much no one's taking our underground road that we put in to bypass the city, because essentially what we wanted was Sacramento and Stockton, if they were using the road, to take this underground route to bypass Modesto in order to get to all of our other cities on this way that is connected by our little road here. And we can see we do have 27 private transportation or destinations demand on this road, which I suppose wouldn't really cause too much traffic inside of the city, but I don't think it would hurt though to upgrade this underground road to be a 4-lane road with a slightly higher top speed. That'll also help line it up with this road a bit better. And so this next issue we have is everyone wanting to leave. And I actually think right here could be a really good spot for a roundabout. And usually, again, I try to avoid them as they aren't super effective like we saw over near Mesa and Downey. But I think just simply due to only having 2 main roads coming into this roundabout, it shouldn't be too terrible to have one here. So we'll bring this up to a decent radius and put it probably right about here. Would work just fine. We'll upgrade this to be a highway so it keeps the higher speed. And then everything else we can connect back up like so to the roundabout. So now if we hit play, this should work out. We'll smooth out the area while we wait. But again, essentially the idea is that all the traffic can now continuously flow, so it wouldn't be stopping at I believe it was a traffic light that was here, and because these 2 roads are on different traffic light patterns, it would basically cause them to just stop and go all the time. And this roundabout allows everything to just continuously flow around and around as needed. And it looks like they're actually merging pretty well here. We gave them enough space for the cars to have space to merge, so hopefully we won't run into issues with these trucks coming on and going over or anything like that. So I don't think there's anything else that we need to do necessarily in Modesto to fix this. I'm hoping that this higher throughput roundabout will solve that, and then the traffic gets evenly dispersed here. We might have to do some tricks with the road here to get the right lane to be right turn only, just so that we don't get another backup at this intersection. But I think this will work out fine for now, and just like everything else, we'll come back at a later time. So finally, this brings us to our high-speed rail network, where we'll continue it from here and bring it up to Birmingham. I think we'll keep the lines separate, although we don't really have that many trains coming up here. I suppose we can take a look at how fast these are going, 124 miles an hour. If we did merge the tracks, it probably wouldn't be often that our high-speed train gets stuck behind another one of our existing trains that goes to Jackson, but I'm not too sure how I like that chance, really. The only reason I wouldn't keep them separate is it would probably get very messy in here. with all of these intersections coming into Jackson, and then we have to find a spot to bring the tracks up and not cross over any of this stuff, and then also be level as it crosses this road or the river. But I suppose it wouldn't be too bad to just give it a quick go, see what we get if we just try to snap like this. So we can see it's trying to bridge across here, which is not what we want. Maybe if we just nudge this down, we might be able to get something. So this wouldn't seem to work either. Perhaps we could pull this back, since we did start raising these tracks underground. If we pull this back and keep it sort of at that lower elevation. So it seems like if we do force this to stay level now, we can tunnel under this set of cargo tracks, and hopefully that'll give us enough space if we confirm this to come back up to parallel with these. We'll try it out here real quick. We'll want to line ourselves up as straight as possible so that we don't lose a bunch of speed on our turns. And then now we can come up, and it looks like we'll be able to come up, but we are getting a crossing here, so let's maybe try to figure this out. Okay, so testing this out quick, it looks like from this point here, it is possible for us to get low enough to go under these set of tracks so we don't cause a junction there. I might try to pull this back just as far as possible. You see this gets a little too close to the tracks, but we still want to keep the end of this bridge looking good. So maybe this will work. You see, we get this weird little thing here when we do that, but that might just be something we have to live with as we go about doing this. And it looks like it's going to do that no matter what, so I think we'll go with this. We'll keep this curve as smooth as possible. We might have to cut this back just so we can continue to stay at 186 miles an hour top speed, but I'm okay with confirming this. Although, actually looking at this bridge is limiting us in our top speed, so perhaps we could just get rid of this bridge altogether right now and redo it so that we can keep our top speed up. So now we should be able to drag this set of tracks straight across, and that looks pretty good. We can select some bridges. This one seems pretty interesting. I'm not a huge fan of how close the pillars are, especially over open water. So maybe something different. This one just looks old and dirty, which I'm not a huge fan of. So I guess we're back to our usual concrete bridge. So we'll build that there. And this kind of looks nice next to the suspension bridge. We don't sort of have competing languages with the metal bridge that we had before. But another good thing is you can see we don't get any weird glitches with the tunnel or the bridge now when we break away from here. We get this little thing, but maybe that'll go away once we build this. So we'll change our tunnel entrance to something we like. That looks pretty good. We'll get this curve a little sharp. We won't get too close to these other sets of tracks, but we'll build this, and then we'll pull back our set of tracks here, and then we'll connect these up and be back when we're ready to bring it across the map. Alright, so now we have our tunnel exit here. We were able to keep it fully max speed all the way underground, and it avoids all conflicts in this area. So we can now just bring this set of tracks, pretty much just following along here, almost all the way up to Birmingham. I don't think we'll go all the way up to the city, but we'll get pretty close, and then we'll merge the two tracks. Now we will need to be careful of our tracks here, as we don't want to ruin our cargo hub expansion that we made pretty recently. We might just have to come back and re-terraform the area. But taking a look here, it does get a little messed up. Let's just see if maybe we can fix that. Alright, so we were able to get this looking pretty nice. We pretty much just had to extend this bridge over a little bit more so that the slope of the tracks wouldn't interfere with the walls and the building here. But this still looks pretty good, and so we can continue on pretty seamlessly all the way up until we get closer to Birmingham. So I think right about here, around where this bridge is where we're going to merge the tracks together. I think this is a good spot because they'll have to slow down over the bridge anyway, and I think soon we're going to potentially get some more bridge types, and I want to save those for this bridge. I don't want to just keep using the default concrete bridge or suspension bridge, so once we unlock some more bridges, we'll replace this one, and then maybe this will allow us to extend these tracks even further. But we'll find a good spot to branch off here. And of course we run into collision issues, but I think we're just going to ignore those. Just because it doesn't really make sense that we can't have a smoother curve out of the junction here, but I think this should work. And then we can set up our high-speed trains, and hopefully we'll get to see it make its run across the map. Alright, so we have all the signals set up. I think we're ready to buy some trains, and I think we'll set up 2 lines. One that goes from San Jose to Birmingham, and then one that goes from Downey to Birmingham. I think that'll be a nice mixture, but let's get these trains out and see what they look like at top speed flying through the map. So I think we'll go with more of these Shinkansen E2 trains, and we'll get 3 of these going in each direction. So this one will come in to Downey and come all the way over to Birmingham, and it seems like we're missing electric tracks somewhere, so we'll take a look at that in a second. It might be at the depot that there's no electric tracks, and that certainly seems to be the case, so that's a quick easy fix where we'll just electrify this, electrify the crossing, and our trains should be somewhere. Here they are. Now our trains are coming out. Those will go up to Birmingham and then back down. I think one thing we'll want to do is just manage the line and set the alternate stations. I think here in Downey we're going to want to expand our station since it seems like we're getting pretty close to capacity. So what's interesting is I think if we delete this street, we can configure this, get more passenger buildings. We can get a large station here and then get a couple of these side buildings, and that'll allow us to connect up to this road on this side of Downey and unlock all of this area over here for us to connect to just the station. And then this stop as well will help supplement our transportation coming into the station. So hopefully we can just drag our streets off of this connection and it won't be too terrible. So here's this side. We tried to keep it as close as possible, and it looks like this works. So if we take a look here, we've greatly increased the capacity, and if we really want to, we can add maybe a few more of these medium side buildings just to help bring that up a little bit more. And I think we'll leave that off like that over here. So we sort of have this old historic side of the station and the newer modern side. I don't mind it too much. Let me know what you guys think, if maybe we should just redo this whole station, but I think it's kind of interesting and unique. But we'll speed this up and let those trains start going on their line while we grab 3 more trains. And for some reason, oh, we have to add them. We'll buy 3 more of these, and these ones will go from our San Jose station all the way up to Birmingham as well. Now again, I think what we're gonna have to do is expand the station here. So let's configure it. I think we could Well, I guess we don't want to add another set of tracks. I think the tracks are probably fine, but we definitely want to redo the passenger buildings. And maybe we can get some placed over here, and it'll sort of be like providing a view to the river. We can maybe turn this into a whole plaza and bring this whole area together. So I think that'll be a nice project for us to work on while we wait for our trains to spread out on their lines. So the first thing we have to do, I think, is delete our collision tile that's in here, because that was giving us issues with the station. And it looks like we can now add our large side buildings. And we'll do them up until there, and then do some medium ones here. And I think this will be good. So then next we'll want to grab our paint tools, hold shift, and bring this across like so. So now we have this all painted out. I think next we'll want to fence out the area that we're going to build in. So, or actually, I think we should get the terrain properly smoothed out, since there's a little bit of change in elevation here between the station and the rest of this. Actually, we could probably just have it step down to the level of this station, since it's not going to be connected to the parking lot or anything. So we'll continue to smooth and flatten this all out, and this should be good. So now we sort of have our area where we're going to build in, although it looks like we didn't end up building this straight, so let's just extend this out a bit more. We'll zoom out so we can see, and this looks to be a little more of a 90-degree curve, so we'll just have to come back in and erase some of these fences, or I guess we'll just have to redo this. So there we go, the fence is back in, and we have this whole area for us to build out and figure out what we want to do with it. And I think this area in here is going to continue to be forest, so we'll just grab our default brush. I think we'll just make this the strongest setting and just fill this all in with trees, bushes, and other things. So this is sort of like a more wildernessy area. And then inside of the fenced-in boundary will be more of a designed park. So some of it will be paved, some of it will probably just be paths and trees, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we have this whole area paved out now, and I think this is a good time that we can come through and define our edges. So we have this nice park grass, and this might be what we use, and I think we'll follow this fence line as sort of our hard edge of where this will be. So we'll lower this down, and we'll just follow this across to create our edge, and then we'll fill all this in with the grass. Alright, so now we have our boundary. Let's get our assets in. I think we'll use dirt as our paths that flow through here. That seems like something that would be pretty logical for our little park through here. And then we'll come back once it's all done up and looking nice. Alright, so this is our park area. We have our paved area with some trees and benches, and then coming over we have some fountains and a kiosk over here. It's a little barren, but I think maybe later on or in the future we can add a few more things around here, maybe some stalls along the hedge fencing along here. But then coming over to this side, we have our waterfront nature park area with some dirt paths, some grass, some open spots for people to just come out and sit while they're waiting for the train. And I think this area came along very nicely. I think it looks really good for what it is, and I'm excited to see as the city continues to grow around it. Unfortunately, we won't get to see people walking around here. Maybe I can find something on the workshop with people to make it feel populated, but let me know what you guys think about this. The last thing we just have to do is put our collision tile over all of this, and hopefully it doesn't break anything when we do it, but raise the scale to what we need, and we should be good to place this. So let's take a look at our stations now and see if we're getting some demand for these new lines, and it looks like we are. We have 13 people waiting in Downey, and then over here in San Jose we have 3 people, 4 people. I'm sure that number will continue to rise as we did just put those trains out. Coming up to Birmingham, these lines are starting to get a few people waiting, and I'm not sure if we want to expand the Birmingham station yet or not. I think we will put both high-speed lines on the same platform, and we'll make sure that our alternate platform is still set properly. I think if anything we could potentially add a medium-sized main entry building, and then maybe just some of these medium-sized side entrances, and that'll just help bring the capacity up a tiny bit here for now. It doesn't look great. We'll come back and fix this up later if we think that the station doesn't fit right or doesn't have enough capacity, but I think this will be good for now. Actually, let's just quickly delete the road right in front of here. As much as I don't want to ruin the sort of straight road that it already has, we do want to have footpath connections in here. So we'll bring that over and then bring this over. So like so, and then connect this road back straight into the main entry here. And now that we've done this, actually, we could probably expand this just a bit more if we wanted to. So 2 more medium ones, and then maybe some small side buildings on here. And this isn't too terrible. We just have to smooth out all of this, and it should look pretty decent. So here we are following one of our new trains as it begins to accelerate up to full speed. I think it had to stop for a train earlier, which is why it's not quite there yet, but it should reach it pretty soon at some point when it's underground, and hopefully by the time it reaches its full speed it can stay there for at least a little bit so that we can get the most out of this train. So here's a nice shot of our train as it comes flying by the cargo hub, getting pretty close to its top speed. It actually seems like this curve here is causing it to slow down, which I didn't realize when we built this. Let's just take a look and double check that. It looks like this weird little curve in here set our speed limit down to 121 miles an hour. So we're gonna have to pause and redo all of this so that we don't get that speed limit there. Let's see if maybe this works. No, that brings it down. So this seems to work now. We just have to go a little bit farther back and we can reconnect all these, although now up here we're getting that number. So we'll have to redo this yet again. So here we're finally able to stay up to top speed. So let's just drag all these back out. And then now that we've done that, we can reconnect these tracks back into where they need to be. So we'll keep this curve like so, bring this one in, connect that up there. We need to replace all of our signals. I believe we had some set back here. And then this should be back to fully functional. So as we ride along on one of our new trains at top speed going up to Birmingham, we're going to end the video off here. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.